Hey guys, welcome on in for the Wednesday, October 30th Power Hour session. We are live. And we have a couple earnings. I think we have Meta this afternoon coming out, which is interesting because Meta is nearing all-time highs. We also have Microsoft. So we got Microsoft and Meta earnings today to talk about once the market closes in about 30 minutes or so. I don't know when they'll exactly come out, but they'll come out soonish. So we got some of those guys. We got a couple other things. I mean, I'm just kind of, in my view, we still got a week. We got a week to go. I don't know how much, we're going to deviate from this holding pattern, I would say, in the next week. What's going on, Flippa? Because, I mean, we kind of have, a couple more earnings. We had some news that came out today. You have, that's next week. We got PCE tomorrow. That could move us a good bit. We'll see. GDP came out today. Numbers came in 2.8% forecast. So it came in below forecast. Not by a decent amount, a little bit, 0.3%. So you got PCE tomorrow, unemployment numbers on Friday. Then you have the election, obviously, on Tuesday, going into Wednesday. Who knows if we'll even have results by Wednesday. But I think in a week from today, we will have a really good feel for, maybe the next sense of direction, because we still are, I think, just very inconsistent. Like you have stocks like AMD, which is just Shop City. You've got stocks like Meta, which has been pretty strong. You got stuff like Google, which has been pretty choppy, but then it has earnings and it pops up to the upside. Then it's coming down today. So it's like, you're kind of all over the place. Tesla's been bouncing around, earnings good, not goodness. You got Apple, which is really just inching closer and closer to all-time highs. Apple's chart, to me, you can make the argument that, you either have a very big breakdown setting up or you've got a very nice breakout setting up. So either you're going to get something like this or you're going to get something like this, you would think. Of course, you could split the difference and do this. That's kind of been what's happening, where when you think we're about to do this or this, we just do this. And that's been the kind of the past couple weeks, it seems like. So in all reality, I think that we have a good next couple of days or a couple more days of patiently holding pattern, and then better sense by Wednesday next week. What's going on, Mill? What's going on, Hudson? Doing well here, dude. Yeah, I saw the accountant on SMCI resigned or something. Let me see. I can pull the news up, I think, really quick. Yeah, the auditor, Ernst & Young, resigns. Top auditor resigns amid Department of Justice investigation. So some sketchy shit going on there. Are we that surprised, though? Like, I think this is one of those we talked about before. Like, I'm not that surprised in the grand scheme of things because of the move it made. You know what I mean? Like, we just gave back this move, which is great, but it's like, okay, who cares? It gave back so far the entire move from January through like March of this year. Really, it was January, February that it went nuts, and it took this many months to kind of give it all back. Okay, cool. I don't know. I don't get into the details of those types of things because, again, I don't really care. I say I don't really care, but like I kind of do, but I also don't. I don't own the stock. I don't like owning individual stocks. I don't own any individual stocks as of right now. I literally own none. And I don't plan to re-enter that realm. Maybe, if we have a huge ass bear market for like multiple years, I would consider that, because I think then that the upside of the next couple of years, potentially, or the next decade of my investing career would potentially, outweigh the downside by a decent margin if we had a multi-year bear market, to then say, yeah, maybe it makes sense to toss a couple of dollars into some individual stocks, some of the biggest names, and just leave them alone for the next 5 years. You could say that, but like as of now, not interested in the individual stock game outside of, trading them. But trading them, I have a stop loss. I got to take profit, and that's it. I'm looking back at United Airlines. This one kind of hurts me because it did end up doing exactly what I wanted to see it do. It hit the $80 area. That was my kind of rough target. It's tough, man. It's just kind of been the nature of the beast that you got to kind of deal with. And so we broke out on, was it this day right here? And then we proceeded to come down, I think, all the way down to here, and then we bounced up at the end of the day. It was kind of weird action. So I enter it on the breakout, and then I say, oh, we can't close above that level. I'm going to get out. I got out. But in the grand scheme, when I look back at the trade, right, I say, like, yes, like the entry point, even if I had waited till the next day, you still didn't close very good. So you would have had to take the risk of an overnight gap down and then getting, smacked. I decided not to. I'm not going to look back and say that, like, oh, it was such a mistake. No, not really. But in the grand scheme, right, what you kind of had was a big push. You had your consolidation, and instead of just kind of like trying to make this little false breakout and then reversing and having a massive move down, you had an attempt to go, a little pullback, higher low, higher low, higher low, then boom. So it's kind of a tough one. It does kind of hurt, but also, is that super surprising to me given the current conditions and how the market has been? Not really. Which is why I currently still sit in Walmart. I don't love it. Like, I'll be honest, I don't love price action, but at the same time, earnings is not for a month, or I guess 3 weeks, 4 weeks, or something like that. I guess 3 weeks. They don't have earnings for 3 weeks, so there's no worry right now on Walmart. And didn't hit the target, hasn't hit stop. It's still a valid trade until it breaks this level right here to me. So I'm not gonna be a little bit quick to get out. I'm just gonna let this thing play out, I think, at this point, because look at what's happening with other stocks. Like, the trends are there, and I think I've been kind of sabotaging myself, not in a terrible way, but by being a little too tight with my stops, and exiting before, the true bottom of the range, area that would invalidate. Really what I'm looking at is what would invalidate the look. Ideally, you want to get in when we're breaking out. So you kind of had a tough time to figure that out right here. So in the grand scheme, maybe not a big deal. So this is not the best example, but technically speaking, whenever you would have gotten in, the downside here never was that consolidation low was never invalidated. So technically speaking, it held up, and it's not surprising to me that it's making that nice move today, given how it never truly invalidated that move. If it had dropped down below here, I would expect at least a decent little pullback in the short term, maybe fill some of this volume, and but that didn't happen, so it stayed strong. Yeah, all the AI stuff. I mean, NVIDIA, you can make the argument that's the one to be in, and then it's like everybody else, SoFi, my brother always talks to me about SoFi. He always, oh my goodness, damn. So they had earnings, and they looked not great yesterday at one point. Big buyers into the close, and then today made a new high of the year, believe it or not. Let me look at the 5 minute. Giving some pullback right now. Damn. She's a beast. It's a big beast. So let's zoom out. You're going to have maybe a little something up here in the 1150 to 1175 area. That was the high that was made back in July, about a year and a half ago. Beyond that, though, honestly, there's not. I think that there's pretty decent room to $12 to $14. Only 14 is that crazy, based on volume here. I think we can make a move back up into kind of like these consolidation lows, which would put you in that 13 or I guess $14 to $16 range. That seems like where it wants to go. It seems like that's just the strength you got going on with it. That's what I see. So I like that. I like SoFi. Palantir is another one of those, older, not older, but probably it's an older company. But older hype stocks, they were hyped up 3 years ago, and now they've kind of, these are the interesting ones, right? Where if you go back to the COVID kind of hype, right? So it's not surprising that we had this move across pretty much everything for a lot of these hype stocks, but then it's the top quality seems to rise to the, we'll make it back, and it's not, and this is going to be an amazing opportunity. The question is, which ones are the top quality? Was it Palantir? Was it SoFi? Or was it, I don't know, there's a million other ones you can pick. Was it Zoom? Was it all this other shit? And some of them have and some haven't. So Palantir, SoFi are two examples of ones that have. Zoom, on the other hand, if I zoom out, not really. Although I say Zoom, hey, this might be coming back with a little resurgence here. I'm not going to lie. I mean, you had this nasty kind of, now you got some movement after the last earnings. Very nice, buyers came in, very nice move. Nice little pullback, build a nice higher low, and then she starts pushing up. I mean, I'm going to be honest, it's not a bad look. Not a bad look. Not a bad look at all. Although, a long way to go, but maybe if, there's starting to become the inner or the early stages of a reversal on that. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of these risk-on trades are at plays. Like Upstart was one of them. You can zoom out. Let's go to the weeklies on some of these guys. This one, you could probably say, based off of a really just like, where we're at, hasn't come back as strong. This was crazy back in the day. Actually, no, if you get rid of the log chart. So I had my chart in log view, which makes it a little more, this is a little easier to see how crazy the move was in Upstart. And then it's like, it really has not come back. So that's one. Like that one never really came back. Maybe it will. It's starting to curl up because the market's also been strong too. You got to think about that. Hasn't come back. Unity Software, definitely not one that has come back, right? Look at this. This thing was up to 200 something bucks. $20 now. SQ is Block, same thing, right? Ties to crypto, pretty big ties to crypto, right? But at the same time, at least I think they are. Huge, massive move. They haven't done shit. You know what I mean? So some will come back, and here's SoFi. It's making better moves, but in the grand scheme, still not really that close to where it was. Some will come back, some won't. Snowflake, they're one of those, right? This is nowhere near, you know what I mean, where it was. Shopify, let's see. I think Shopify looks better. I think Shopify was a beast. It was an absolute monster for a long time. Had a huge dump, but then it's kind of resumed the trend, right? Not like it's insane, but it like this is, you can kind of see like that got excessive when you zoom the charts out. So you kind of unwind that, right? They say the stair step up and elevator down. You can kind of see that really, very clearly. Look at how long it took to kind of make this move up, and then look at how fast it kind of gave it all back. Really, all of it back. And then you kind of have more of that stair step back up, it seems like now. Roku, same thing, never came back. Rivian, can't really say because it IPO'd, I think, back then, so whatever. Roblox, same thing, never came back. Palantir, absolutely came back. Check out, here's Palantir's chart. Abso-freaking-lutely came back. Here's the weekly. I mean, that's a beauty, right? Robinhood, well, the IPO came at like an interesting time back in 2021, so I don't know. It's just whatever. I think Robinhood, not going to lie, I don't invest in these individual stocks, but I think that there's a lot of potential on this company as a whole. Whether you like them or not, I think with the new trading platform that they're about to be releasing, I think there's a lot of potential there. Because I think you're going to cater to a lot more active traders. And if you could do it all in one place, like think about it. If you can, like Webull, for example, has a lot of allure, I think, because you can trade futures now. You can trade crypto, or at least they have a separate app, I think, for that now. But you could, I guess, or you used to. You could trade stocks, options, like all that stuff. And now Robinhood, you can do that, all that stuff. You can do IRAs in both of them too. But now, once you add the factor that you can now trade from the charts, like you can utilize more of active trading features that you would get on like a Webull and stuff. That's going to bring a lot of people, or make a lot of people say, you know what? I'll actually use these guys now because, I have money there. I have a decent chunk of change from my investment portfolio that's over there. So you know what? Let me just move a few dollars over into a different account and trade that. Like it makes sense. So I think it's an interesting one. That's done very, very well this year, but I'm curious to see, it's a good one to watch, I think, over time. That wouldn't surprise me if it does very, very well. I don't look into the details of these things. I don't know the future. The reality is here too. If people stop giving a shit about trading and investing, then this stock does not do very well because they make a lot of money when people are using the platform. and actively making moves. And if they're not actively making moves because the market sucks, it's boring, or we're going down, and then the attention's not there. There's no excitement. People are not inclined to invest. More people are inclined to invest and get excited about the markets when we're going up, as of right now, versus when we're going down. They just don't seem to be the same. So the Dow, here's the Dow's chart, DIA. I mean, you did have a chop fest in September, end of September. A little push early October, and then whoop, right back into the chop fest. So not much is going on there. IWM, higher lows just continue to kind of play out. And this is at some point, I think a breakout could occur above here, but just doing its thing for now. QQQ, you have really, I mean, the trend is clearly up, but also it is just like, so same thing, choppy into the ups, and then SPY, it's the same thing. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I think we got, we'll see earnings today. You got PCE tomorrow. Cool. Maybe makes a dent. But I think what will be really telling will be if we don't get huge trending action up or down into the end of the week after like PCE data comes out and stuff, and then unemployment numbers come out. If we don't see trending action, then I think it's very clear that it's just waiting on the election, So, yeah. Trump's 66.1 continues to kind of like inch higher. It seems like. The question that I have on this, I think, is very funny because I've heard two different sides. So you have the side that's like, it just depends where you look. You can find a lot of, I'll just take, from my objective point of view. I guess as objective as I can possibly be, because I try to think about things like that. I don't try to get caught up in, a lot in there. I just try to think for myself and then just see, like, when someone posts a video, or when you see a video about that leans a certain way, go to the comments, see the likes, like, what's the ratio, likes per view, how many likes per how many views, what are the comments saying and stuff. And so I just saw some stuff the past couple of days, and I thought it was very interesting. Then again, there's different audiences and stuff, but I saw an interview here. I saw, obviously, that everyone's probably saw, if you cared, the Rogan interview with Trump, just to see, whatever, whether you like him or not, to hear him out. I thought he did pretty good on that, like in terms of just becoming a likable guy, just a chill guy. Now, whether he said things that you agree with or not, that's obviously not who cares, but whatever. But what I was noticing was, so you have people in the camp that are like, oh, well, Trump's leading, in the odds. Polls are absolute dog shit, in my opinion. The betting odds are more important. Trump's leading the betting odds. Simple as that. These are not huge leads. Like, he's not crushing. You can even go, if you go to this site, Odds Checker. I mean, that's the best I've seen. I mean, that's the best lead I've seen. I mean, you're approaching a negative -200 odds, which is, in the case of sports, if a team is -200 to win, they're a pretty decent favorite to win. Like, they should win. Obviously, they don't win all the time, but they should win. So we're kind of inching towards, like, Trump should win based off the betting odds. That's just based off the betting odds themselves. Could be wrong. It could be wrong. But I was noticing, like, people have the argument, well, they're like, isn't this easy money? Like, isn't it easy money to bet Harris? Because there's no way that they will actually let Trump win, especially if it's close. Whether that's you believe them rigging the elections or illegals, whatever, people voting and stuff. Like, that's kind of one camp of people who are, like, legitimately saying, like, that's a thing. So the actual better play is to bet Harris, because you, as fuck as it might sound, like, if you don't trust the system that we have in the US, then that is easy money. Like, that's technically, like, that is easy money, because you can more than double your money. Like, you can bet her based off these odds. You can bet $100 and win 180. So that's pretty decent. Like, if you throw that down, that's like in the case of the poly market, you can pay 33.9 cents, and if she wins, you get back $1. It's pretty fucking good. So that's more than a double. Whereas Trump, you're going to get less than a double at this point based off his current odds. Substantially less than a double. So you have that camp. And then you have the camp of like, well, then what if that is the thought process and that's actually going on and there was, clear interference or fraud or whatever? Is that are there enough people in place to cover that up to where that wouldn't become a thing? Like, what if you have the situation where she wins? This is just kind of throwing out conspiracy ideas. It's whatever. It's interesting to think about because I'd like to just, think about the scenarios. Like, what would happen? It'd be crazy if this happened. She wins, but then we uncover that, she didn't win because of X, Y, Z, because it was that close. And then it's like, oh shit, then what happens there? Do they give you the money? Or when does the payout hit? Like, when do they officially, when do you get paid? Do you get paid once they are like at the inauguration, or are you getting paid like the day that they announce like the winner, technically speaking? Like, you know what I mean? So that becomes a whole thing. Something similar happened. I was not around to bet during the time, but like the Al Gore Bush situation, I believe, many years ago. Not many years ago, but years ago. Like I'm pretty sure, like going back, I think he technically won a state, or he had more votes than Gore did than they originally had. Like, so it was a whole thing. I don't know too much about it. I've just obviously read a little bit about it, but like I wasn't really paying attention during those times. I'm 26, so it's like, okay, whatever. But so you have those scenarios, I think are very interesting. But then the objective observer in me is kind of confirming that this makes sense. Like the objective observer in me, when I look at things like the reaction to the Rogan podcast, and then when I go and see a podcast that she's done, now, different story. There's different levels of podcasts that, you can be on a bigger scale and get in front of more people. But when I go and look at some of the, go into the comments, go see what people are saying, and it's not as positive as, and maybe that's because of the audience who's watching it, the algorithm, I don't know. But you would think the algorithm would cater those types of podcasts to people who maybe support her. And they would cater the Trump podcast to people who support him. Like, if you are not a Trump supporter, then you're probably not going to watch his podcast. Now, I think you should, because you should know what he's, how he thinks about things and stuff. As if you don't like her, then you should watch her podcast, right, to see what she says. Although there are a million out there, and they're very short in nature, and they seem to be not super. They're very biased. Unfortunately, that's the whole reason why I think people wanted her to go on Joe Rogan, and he wants her on because he's like, I just want to see how, who are you? You know what I mean? Like, let's just talk. But either way, what I have seen from the comments on different videos and podcasts and stuff on YouTube specifically, as I've just kind of looked around and got a sense, it does feel like I'm finding more people who would support Trump than I would see support her by a decent margin from what I've seen. Now, that could be off by algorithms and stuff and who and what you're looking at. It is a bit skewed, possibly. You go on TikTok, and what I found on TikTok, at least, maybe that's also, there's other algorithms there, I found you can find more people who support her. Secondary piece to that, think about it from this perspective. If China doesn't want Trump to win, China owns TikTok, wouldn't it make some sense for them to, and this is just another conspiracy, wouldn't it make sense for China to maybe suppress some more of the conservative or the Trump supporting types of videos and, let the other ones rise to the top, meaning the ones that are more pro-Democrat or pro-Harris? It would make sense if they want her to win. Now, that's if China it's like now you're getting into a whole thing. It's super interesting when you look at it. And then when you add the whole algorithm approach into all this stuff, it makes it even crazier because you could just be soaking up only pro-Trump or only pro-Harris stuff for hours and hours and hours, and then go, I don't see anything on this person. It's going to be an easy win. No one supports him or her. But then it's like, well, you're skewed because your algorithm is only showing you those things. So it's super funny. Like when you try to pull back the layers, you go on X. A lot of stuff on X is going to be more pro-Trump. You're going to find generally, not all, but you're going to find a lot. You go on TikTok, you're going to find a lot of pro-Harris. You go on YouTube, and it's going to be a mixed bag. But you're going to see, but on YouTube, what I see is substantially more views, attention, and positive comments towards the more pro-Trump things than the Harris things. That's just what I'm objectively seeing, So how that all plays out into next week, who knows? But it's seemingly holding back any substantial major moves in the market. You know what I mean? We haven't seen much going on here, in a while. So I think we'll have a better sense of that by next Wednesday. Hopefully we have a winner, hopefully we have a clear winner. You never know. Surely you never know. But yeah, so we're about a week out, a week out. JP Morgan's another one of those stocks that too also looks really juicy. Same thing, as very similar to UAL, where you can make the argument, well, it kind of broke out, but then like it never, broke the bottom of this consolidation, these lower wicks. So still the consolidation is still intact, could still totally see a breakout, but I have not seen a clear breakout yet. I'm waiting for it. I want to see it, but at the same time, yeah, you got this next week. Is it worth, like if it closed super strong tomorrow, like, is it worth playing it? I don't know. Maybe. Easy to see both sides, but I would say a slight skew towards Trump. That's what I would definitely say from what I could tell, from what I could tell, I've seen some other things too, which were interesting. I saw a post on X yesterday of a guy who went to a predominantly black county in Georgia. I think it was called Clayton County. I think it's South Atlanta. And he just kind of went out and interviewed people. And he said that he found there was much more closer to like a 50-50 split between pro-Trump or pro-Harris, which is very interesting because I believe they said some stats were like Biden won that county like 85% to 15 or something like that back when he won. So if this random guy's, is even anywhere close to that, it's an interesting, piece. It's like you would think maybe that would be this way, but it's not. It's funny. I don't know. It's just like I see things like that, and I'm like, I'm kind of surprised. Like I see stuff that you would think maybe doesn't make sense, based off of I don't know what you're told or maybe what the news is saying. I don't really watch the news either, though. I really don't. Which at that point too, it's tough to do it. In my view, it's tough to watch the news because I've just seen a lot of situations on, especially like networks like CNN and stuff, where whether you support that side or not, I don't consider myself a supporter of really any side. I'll support the person that I like the most. You know what I mean? I don't care what the fuck side it is. But I've seen so much stuff there, and then I've seen stuff on Fox as well, and it just like it kind of discredits them, like with what they talk about. Now, maybe not as much on Fox. I don't think. I've noticed it a lot more. I remember back when I was in college at CNN, and like I got nothing against them. Like if you guys just it was like insulting the intelligence of the viewer is kind of what I felt, which is what turned me off. It's not like, oh, I hate your views necessarily, but it's more like you're not presenting the news. You're insulting the intelligence of the viewer is what I found to be the case, because they had interviews of people who were on like, back in the election for 2016 when Trump was getting some steam or whatever. And then they had people come on, and then all of a sudden they like cut the interview or they cut the call and said, oh, we got some technical difficulties. And I'm like, that's fucking bullshit. They just cut the guy off. And I'm like see, like shit like that, because just because you don't like what someone's saying, you now are not like, you lost your credibility in my eyes. Like you lost your credibility if you're going to do shit like that. Let the person, like the way that the world should work and the whole free speech approach, in my view, is let people spew and then correct mistakes as after the fact. If they're speaking incorrectly, then you can fact check, apply support, or show the evidence why they're wrong, blah blah blah, and they have to stand up for that or they don't. And then the quality will eventually float its way to the top, and the truth will float to the top, and the other shit will get buried because it's not relevant. Like it won't be relevant. That's kind of how I view it, versus trying to skew it and create these narratives and stuff, which I think are just dumb. Like let the people decide, for themselves. So we got a couple earnings. We got Meta. I think Meta is what I'm most interested in. Microsoft's coming out as well, but I'm most interested in Meta in the after hours here, because it's been the strongest. It hit up to 609 or so in pre-market or this morning, which 609 would have been, that was a new all-time high, technically made in pre-market hours on Meta. So will she hold that up, or what's she going to do? All right, Microsoft seems to be moving here. Microsoft, woo, initial pop, like up like 1 or 2%, and then got nailed. I'll pull up the stuff when I get it. Haven't seen anything yet, but I mean, I could pull it up in a minute. Some of the numbers. But she's bouncing around a little bit on Mike. Whether it's out officially or not. Oh, I saw Apple. You know what's funny when I go whenever I type in Apple, whenever I want to go to their website, I start typing AAPL, and I'm like, oh fuck, it's APPLE. They dropped the new MacBook Pro today or recently or whatever. This is the news I saw today. Pretty decent. I mean, should I say decent? It's $1,600 starting, lowest you can get it. But then it ends up being more after you build it out if you want certain things. But I haven't seen too much about the black is pretty sick. I like the black. They have the new iPad. Don't they have a new iPad? Pretty sure they have a new iPad now. Yeah, I'm curious what some of these things look like. The M4 chip. M4 Max. That's what we got to do. I've noticed that like 24 hours fast charge. They got a fast charge aspect too, which is pretty cool. iPhone mirroring, that's kind of cool. The display, I think, has like, they have a new thing where it's like, yeah, the nano texture display. Choose this option to reduce glare, reflections, and bright. I've been noticing that because I try to sometimes take my computer outside, and it's a pain in the ass. No reason to upgrade, at least for me, because I have a new, fairly new Mac that I got a couple years ago. But I have the funny thing about them is that I have one that I'm looking at right now that the battery's shot, so it has to be plugged in all the time to work. But this thing I have had since 2016. Like, this is coming up on, it's over 8 years because I got it in the summer of 2016. It's like July. So I think it's like we're approaching like 8.5 years soon, and it still runs, which is crazy. Here's the Microsoft numbers, by the way. GAAP EPS 3.3, $3.30, up 10% year over year. Total revenue was up 16% year over year. Guidance to be provided on the call. So you got to wait for the call for them to give you more information, which is not super surprising. It's up about 2% right now in the after hours so far. Meta is dumping as we speak. So it seems like not a good result from there so far. Not down a ton, though. Same as Microsoft, not up a ton either. It's kind of just 2% is not bad, but it's like that's nothing crazy. We've seen crazier shit. AMD was down over 10% today after their earnings yesterday, so they got kind of nails. But Meta's down 5 now, 5.5. That's more substantial. Go to a 4-hour time frame to see it better in the bigger picture. So check this out. You go to a new all-time high in pre-market and then getting nailed so far. Initial reaction. This is like the very, very first early reaction. It wouldn't surprise me if we had a, like Microsoft finishes up a little bit, Meta finishes down a little bit, and that was kind of the day. Apple and Amazon tomorrow. How much do we care? I think Apple is more interesting to me. Meta's going up now. We're trying to go back green. I think Apple's a lot more interesting just based off the chart. Well, let's check out Amazon's chart. How's Amazon's chart look? Let's see. Yeah, no, it's getting back up there. They both are within striking distance of all-time highs. If the earnings went well for both, let's just say, bullish scenario. If PCE comes in and we react in a way that's positive, I don't even want to say what's good or bad at this point. I don't know, and we could do. You could say, oh, well, inflation should be coming down. If it comes down, that's good. Yeah. How many times have we said that? Then the market does the other thing. It goes the opposite way. So I wouldn't get caught up in that. But if the market reacts bullish to this, then we come in and we have Amazon, Apple earnings, and both, let's just say, somehow were to finish higher after earnings. They could absolutely be at all-time highs. Both of them easily could be all-time highs tomorrow. So that's Amazon's chart. Here's Apple's chart. Sort of similar, Apple had a weak day today, but sort of similar-ish, I actually am kind of excited for tomorrow now. And I think about it, like, we got some news. We got some data to let roll out and see what happens. So I'm gonna dip. I'm gonna wrap up. As somewhat expected here, not a lot of craziness in the after hours. Of course, we'll have to. You gotta wait for the earnings calls and the guidance to be called out on the calls and stuff. But Meta's down 2% in the after hours. Really, not that much. It was down more briefly, but it's bounced back. And then Microsoft's up 1.38. It's like barely even up. So we'll see. I'll be back tomorrow morning for a stream, and then Friday afternoon, and then next week. Next week should be fun. I'll probably do a stream Monday and Tuesday, at least probably twice. I think Tuesday will be fun to do a stream as we're in the afternoon or even at night when we're getting data. Like election data coming in, and then we'll see how the markets are reacting. Oil. I think oil could be huge, right? Because if Trump wins, oil maybe goes down. I think Bitcoin could be a huge mover. On Tuesday, I think obviously the markets could be a big mover. They don't have to. Gold and silver. How do they kind of shake out? And is there a narrative being built there? I think all that stuff will be very interesting. So that's the plan for next week for Tuesday. But I think we got another week or so of kind of. I think. In my eyes, I don't think I'm going to be entering anything new. JP Morgan does look really juicy to me. And, maybe we'll break out and maybe I'll be like, oh my God, I got to get in. But outside of that, there's not a lot of stuff that I'm like, oh, I need to get in this or that. I have stuff that I've been in that could close me out, that I might close out of by the end of the week or, early next week, but we'll see. Not a lot of new stuff, I think, to do, at least as of right now. So enjoy the Wednesday. I'll see you next time. Back tomorrow morning for a stream at the